It's a Mental Health Chat Monday, Season 2, everybody. This is the series where we sit down with a brand new guest every week to discuss their journey with mental illness and mental wellness. Because here on Mental Health Chat Monday, our motto is turning mental illness into mental wellness. I am your host, DDare Bionic. Thank you so very much for tuning in to 2 seasons of this series, y'all. I'm so proud and honored. And I'm even more proud and honored to sit down and chat with my very good friend, our guest today, a theater maker, a singer, an icon, a legend, and the moment. Shawn Michael is here today. Hello, 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 hello.
Hi, love. How are you?
You know, I'm hanging in there.
I feel that.
I am hanging in there. It's been a rough, not rough. I can't say rough because it hasn't been like, it's been things I want to do outside of working doubles. And that will never be a thing I want to do. But it's been like theater. I'm directing a play right now. It's been music. I'm like hosting a live show and performing a bunch. Like it's been a lot of stuff that I want to do. But I'm at the point where like, I wish I was making like a little bit more money from this so that I could quit my job.
I feel.
Yeah. So introduce yourself to the people. Tell everybody who you are, how we met, all of that good stuff.
Well, my name's Shawn Michael. I'm a member of the queer community. Honestly, I don't even remember how we met. I just know that we're really good friends now, and like we just met one day and we were like similar energy. Like, let's be friends, and it's just it's gone from there. But like you said, I'm a theater maker. I have run a queer theater company called the Q Collective, which is currently on hiatus as I figure myself out and get myself back together. I'm a singer, actor, writer, reader. So, in a long distance relationship, which that's got its own challenges.
I bet. I will get into that if you would like to get into that, because that's also something that is, I feel like we haven't really touched on the podcast yet. So I like to start these episodes kind of in a similar fashion. Mental health check. Where are you? How has 2023 been treating you so far? I know we have talked a little bit about mental health and all that all the time. It's a very important part of our friendship is to check in with each other. But tell me how you are.
I always take things day by day.
Mm-hmm.
One, I work in the restaurant industry. And like, if you like at the end of the day, I have to let that baggage go, whatever happened that day, and just move forward. And it's something that I took from the restaurant industry into my normal life. Now, are there things, that are threads throughout? Absolutely. So, I had a major financial setback last month that I'm still struggling through. And because money is such an important part of our society, it weighs heavily on me. So, not been doing the greatest here lately, but still got to wake up every day and try and get my shit done.
Yeah, that's the only way you're ever going to get yourself out of it is if you just like keep going, which is unfortunate. Like, I feel like we should have a fail safe, like a way to, and not like as people, as this like society. I was watching a video this morning on TikTok of how schools in Finland compare to schools in America. And it seems like countries are so far ahead of us in every aspect.
Well, that we can get into a whole conversation about all of that, because like that's a whole nother thing. I'm a big fan of universal basic income, but now I'm hearing this talk of a universal basic income equivalent, where it's instead of just giving money, it's the things that like you and I think that we should have, which is universal health care for people, universal education for people, and just have that available. And honestly, like I think there are a lot of things where, just from my own experience and my own mental health, if I didn't have to worry about getting sick and then going to the doctor
Hmm.
I was in an accident last year where I broke one of the vertebra in my neck,
Uh-huh.
and I'm still paying that hospital bill. And I was very lucky at the time that I had health insurance through the job that I had. So it wasn't as catastrophic to my finances um, as it could have been. But it doesn't change the fact that I'm still paying for it. And the
Right.
amount that I'm paying for it, if you combine that with, like I said, I had a major financial setback this year. If you combine those things together, um, it's just the amount that we pay. And I hate to like go so far into money is the root of all evil, but like money is the root of all evil, at least in the United States.
It absolutely is. It absolutely is.
So,
It
yeah, like, oh, I'm so sorry. But with what happened to me last year that got me in the hospital, I would have paid maybe a fifth of that in Europe or even in the Philippines, which, is classified as a third world country. And yet they do things a lot better than we do in some instances.
yeah. Yeah, it's just easy to look and like to just peer over the waters and be like, wow, I could go. It's why so many people go away to get surgeries done, to get simple procedures, to get any type of any kind of healthcare.
Right. And, it's not to say that like everything's perfect in those countries. It's
True.
not. I mean, let the Philippines, Rodrigo Duterte, who's now out of power because they have a one term limit for their presidents, had a war on drugs that killed millions of people
Wow.
indiscriminately. So, nothing's perfect anywhere, but it does seem like other countries have things figured out a little bit better.
Yeah, and nothing. I don't think anything's gonna be perfect ever, but I would like to see America at least try.
Yeah. Yes. And yeah, I think part of the problem comes from the hyper individualism that
Mhm.
has always been here, um,
Always.
and the anti intellectualism that has always been here. And that's the thing on both sides. There's no like, no political side of the aisle has that on lock ever. Um, the United States was founded on hyper individualism.
Yeah.
And it was, some of the earliest settlers here were anti-intellectuals. So like you can't escape those two facets of the founding.
Yeah. Without rewriting the entire system, which is looking real good right about now. It's looking real good.
Hashtag burn it down.
um, I agree with that deeply in my soul. So let's get a little bit more into the mental health aspect of this podcast. I'm sorry, there's like a little piece of my beard is growing out the color, and there's
Mhm.
like a piece right here that is driving me insane just because of the way the color's sitting. That's so annoying. Why am I so vain? Anyway, um, so if you're comfortable sharing, have you been diagnosed with any mental illnesses at all, and how have those diagnoses affected you?
Yes, actually, I am diagnosed recurrent major depressive and anxiety disorders. And I I had always known that I probably had depression.
Hmm.
Um, it's one of those things where it's when you wake up in the morning and you don't want to get up and go, you know, it 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 was, kind of been evident in my life for a very long time. Um, and having the diagnosis is kind of freeing in a way because I know I have it. Um, I can work around it. Um, I was taking medication. Unfortunately, because I no longer have health insurance, I no longer have medication, which, sucks. But it means that, but because I knew that was coming, um, and I know that I have these things, I'm much more aware of the signs of breakdown in myself and the signs of ramping up on certain things.
Mhm.
My anxiety disorder comes out in the worst times possible because it's always at work. But
Mhm.
working in a restaurant, sometimes having anxiety is a good thing because it means I'm kind of a little more on top of things.
Yeah.
But that panicky feeling that comes with it is not always the best either. Um, and yeah, I'm sad how I got the diagnosis. Um, I was in a relationship with a guy for 7 years. Um, it was a toxic relationship from both sides. Um, but one of the things that was happening at the end, I don't have any proof for what I'm about to say. I just suspect that this is what was happening.
Mhm.
I got catfished when I was kind of getting back together with him. So we had broken up in October of 2017. I had moved out on a Sunday without telling him. There are personal reasons for that I won't go into.
Mhm.
And I cut off all contact with him for 3 weeks. I thought that I was in a better place 3 weeks later. I was like, okay, let me get back in contact. There are some things we have to figure out. We had a car together in our name. We had bills together in our name. We had credit cards together. And, these are things that you need to figure out. So I contacted him. We got to talking, trying to figure things out. Things didn't really go anywhere as far as figuring things out. Um, and at the same time, I was, on Grinder, and a couple of other, the hookup and the dating sites.
Mhm.
And this guy contacted me on Grinder, and we just got to talking, and I just like free flowing confession. And then every time that we were going to meet up, he just mysteriously something happened, and I started getting suspicious. Um, and then Steven started showing up at my apartment. We got into fights in my apartment. Um, I have threatened to call the cops on him quite a few times. Then he started showing up with notes that were found on his car or my car. Things about our relationship, or photos taken and sent from like a mysterious phone number of our cars parked next to each other. Um, yeah, it was weird. It was weird. And finally, there was one night we were out. We went to a couple of bars, and I just hit a point that was like, I had said something about just go back to my place. I need to sleep. And I walked out, and I was just like, I have to go. I can't be around this guy. And now, Grant, I was very drunk, and I got in my car and I drove. He chased me all around South City, St. Louis, and then I got on the highway and I drove an hour into Illinois.
Oh wow.
Uh, yeah, because in my drunk mind, I was like, I'm gonna go to my mom. She's in Virginia. I'm gonna go to my mom. That'll be the safest place for me right now. And that was stupid. It was a dumb thing to do. And I called my cousin, um, and he and I talked, and he's like, turn around, go back home. I was like, I think I'm gonna call 911 and check myself into the hospital. And he said, you probably should. And I got home safe. Thank everything in the world. Um, I called 911, and I went into the hospital for a weekend. And just being able to cut off contact with him for that couple of days and reset my thinking,
Mhm.
and that's where I was diagnosed, um, was so incredibly helpful. And when I got out, I just texted him. I said, do not call me. Do not text me. I will contact you if I want to be in contact. And it's been a struggle. That was almost 6 years ago now. It doesn't, it's been a struggle sometimes just to keep my head up. And I'm still kind of coming to terms with things and thinking through things that happened in that relationship that still affect me today.
Mhm.
So yeah.
Yeah, I have never heard that story before. I don't know how we haven't talked about that before, but oh shit. Don't mind me just throwing all of my things on the floor. Um it's I don't want to use the word interesting, but it's interesting how relationships can truly affect who you are, where you are, and how you are. And I am very glad that you made the choices that you made, and I am proud of you, and I see that in you, like you're very strong will. I've always seen that in you. Um, and my God.
Yeah. Yeah. I would maybe one day I'll be comfortable enough to share everything that went on
Mm,
um, in that relationship. Probably the only person who really knows most of it at this point is Nico, my boyfriend. Um, but and that's one of those things, like, past relationships affect your new relationships. And Nico and I have the same age difference that Steven and I did, which is about 10 years.
mhm.
Um,
Ronnie and I
but
also have a
I
age difference.
yeah, and but I look at a lot of the things that were done to me and I did to Steven, and I, take it, with Nico, he's 24 years old. I take a very deep breath before dealing with a lot of things with him, and take my time and try to have some patience with him because he's still young and
Mhm.
he's still learning. And, he also has his own mental health issues. And you can't, like, you can't be in a relationship and just, I exist here, you exist there, even if you exist in the same place together or, 8,500 miles apart. Um, you have to work together. So,
Yeah, I think it's I Ronnie and I both have our own separate, diagnoses and triggers and all those things. And it's really this is gonna sound so bad. It's really nice to be in a relationship with someone who's mentally ill because you get each other. Like
yeah,
there it can be really bad and it can not work out. But in certain instances, like I for myself and I feel for you and Nico, it has helped us kind of understand who we are a little bit better and how to help this thing up here that doesn't like itself all the time.
yes. Yeah, well, it's nice to have a partner who understands because, if I'm in a bad place, it's just a lot of talking through and, like, it's okay to feel that way. It's okay to be living those feelings. Um, it's I'm here for you. I'll be here for you. If you want to talk, if you don't want to talk, if you want to get on the phone and just, like, have the presence there, because, like, I'm in a long distance relationship, so you know, the most we have right now is just video calling,
Mhm.
for physical contact. Um, and the same thing, when he's in a bad place, I'm like, I'm here for you. Do you want to talk about it? Do you want advice? Like, what can I give you right now? What do you need from me right now? You know, it it's nice to have that understanding on both sides and not just, have one partner who's like, I'm totally fine all the time, and the other partner who's just, Eeyore all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. I said this, and I'm pretty sure I've said this in previous episodes. I don't trust anybody who says they're not at least a little bit mentally ill. Like, just a little bit. Like, just a little bit. Like, hold on. The way the world is right now, even if even if prior to the pandemic, prior to the really crazy tensions of the world right now, you were not mentally ill. Not everybody has to have a diagnosis or be, on medicine or whatever, what have you. But there just is an energy in the world right now that does not lend to wellness of any kind.
Correct.
And there's, I guess, ignorance is bliss, but to me it is not bliss in
No.
this political climate, in this era, as a black man, as a queer black man, as a gender non-conforming queer black man. Like,
Right. Yeah.
mm-mm.
I just on that level, you know, the ignorance is bliss. Like I don't agree with that either at all, because like I said, knowing that I have depression, knowing that I have anxiety, knowing what it feels like to be getting into those and out of those,
Mm-hmm.
I'm better able to listen to what my body is saying because I know that. And because I know that there are other people out there who have it, I can go find the right people to be around in the times that I need to be around. It's the same thing. I know that there's, you know, a lot of like joking about like the LGBTQ element OP, you know, but I heard on a TV show years and years ago something that I thought was really just a smart thing. Labels can absolutely be boxing,
Mm-hmm.
100%, but labels can also be freeing in the way that labels can be a safe space and a place for you to find new family, and to find people, you know, whose experiences are similar to yours.
Mm-hmm. I don't
Um,
know. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. Go
oh
ahead.
no, I had a thought, but it went away. So
I'm sorry. Sorry.
no, you're totally fine.
I don't know if you remember this revelation that I had. It was rather early in our friendship. I think it might have been like around the inception of Q Collective. But I used to be really I used to not identify with the term queer, and I used to think that it was very othering uh and made me feel icky. Not necessarily icky, but like I didn't like it. And it was not until I started to hang out with more queer people that I started to enjoy and understand and identify as queer,
Right,
because it's not just, yes, I am, you know, bisexual. I'm in a homosexual relationship right now. I don't necessarily conform to a gender, one or the other, or any at all, really. And the people that are in the queer community understood me, and they helped me, and they made me feel connected to myself.
right.
And I was like, well, shit, I've been so mad at this one word all my life, and this is all I've ever been.
Yeah. Well, and that's one of the nice things. I mean, it's not obviously like nothing. The only thing that's 100% is that nothing is 100%.
Yep.
And but walking into queer spaces, um, and just being accepted, like, and just being there.
Hmm.
I mean, obviously there are problems, you know, and again, tales for another time.
Yeah.
Not going to absolve anybody of their sins here. But walking into spaces, was so freeing for me. And the same thing with like the depression and the anxiety. For me, like when I got to creating the Q Collective, it was extending that same grace to everybody who walked through our doors.
Hmm. Yes.
So
So let's talk a little bit about the Q Collective, because I was very proud and honored to be a part of that and the growth of that company. And I do hope that it comes back sometime in the future when you are ready. Um, but talk to me about the inception of that, and how I feel like there was a big focus on mental wellness with the company. Not even necessarily expressly, like, you know, but there was a focus on making sure that everybody felt comfortable. And to me, comfortability is a big part of mental wellness. So talk to me about how all of that tied together.
yeah, so I mean, I started the Q Collective because I wanted to see more stuff about me on stage. Um, and you know, it's a very selfish reason to want to do something like that, but at the same time, like, you know, the iceberg rule: for every, you know, piece of an iceberg you see above, you've got a massive amount below.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so if I wanted to see more stuff like me, that means other people want to see more stuff like them.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so creating a space that was specifically queer theater all the time, in St. Louis, which, you have Joan Lipkin, who does her stuff with that Uppity Theater Company, but it's not queer theater all the time. That's no hate to Joan Lipkin. She's got a lot that she does. She was the first queer theater in St. Louis. And, that's something you can never take away from her. And then New Line and Stray Dog regularly do queer theater, and it's awesome, and I'm happy that it's there, but I wanted something that was all the time. And that's why we went with the title The Q Collective. We splashed it up there. We are queer. We are always queer. And one of my first things that I wanted to do when I did that is you have people who are struggling with different identities, either their gender identity or their sexuality. And the room had to be a comfortable, safe space for everyone. And when we found our first rehearsal space, I was really worried about it because it was a church. And there's a lot of religious trauma within the queer community. Thankfully, the church that we found, the pastor and his husband lived in the rectory on site. So that was, for me, that was like the first, green flag for this space. The second green flag is that they were working at the time to become an open and affirming church within the, I think they're a UCC church, the United Church of Christ. And they now have that designation as an open and affirming church. So we were welcomed with open arms by a gay man and his husband in a church that wanted to be a safe space for queer people. And, that is a relationship that I cherish. And I'm very glad that we were able to build it. And so just from that and walking into it, our very first play festival that we did, we had, I can't remember how old she was, but she was young. And the shows that we do, they are about sex and gender and sexuality. And it was really very important to me that anybody who was under the age 18, like the parents, yes, they had already consented to allow them to be there because of the audition process. But I said, we have to go one step further. I need written permission saying that it is okay that we have these frank discussions about gender and sex and sexuality if they are under 18. And then beyond that, we adopted the Chicago standards, and not, as fully as we could have, simply because, we walked into that first play festival with literally $0. We put that on with no money. I'm still proud of that fact. But it was just we want to make a safe space. And I think just expressing that and saying, here are the things that we're trying to do. I hope that we succeeded. I know that there have been some issues that have happened, like during the production of Hedwig that we did, that we had to take care of. I'm very happy that we had a psychotherapist on our board, who was able to, she's done a lot of coaching for me as far as interpersonal relationships within an organization. I think all these little things, tiny things, hell, even on our audition forms, putting on there, not just, how do you identify male, female, but, trans male, trans female, and keeping a spot open for, whatever you want to identify by asking people their pronouns in the audition process, not afterwards. And taking away certain things that personally, the more I think about it, I don't understand. In some cases, why does somebody's hair color matter?
Why?
Or eye color matter?
Like, those are all old tired things
Right.
that Hollywood is trying so hard to hold on to.
Right. And it's, if the character is described as blonde, blonde hair and blue eyed, am I going to try and look for somebody who's blonde haired and blue eyed? Absolutely. That's what the character description is asking for. I don't think that you would do any less. I'm not gonna cast a black man. I'm sorry, a white man to play a black man in a show. I'm not gonna cast, a green-eyed, red-haired person to play a blonde-haired, blue-eyed person. But if those things aren't in the description, why does it matter?
Yeah. I fully agree. There's this, especially in theater, there's this this need to stay true to the text or whatever, blah blah blah. Like, listen, a lot of these plays were written so long ago that of course they were written for white people because those were the only people wanting to, being able to do theater. But at a point, you kind of have to be like, okay, this doesn't just exclusively have to be a white person. There were black people around. There were Asian people around. There were Native American people around. Like, everyone existed since the beginning of time. So,
well, and that's, and honestly, like, a lot of those arguments too, you think about, a play written in the 1500s set in Rome. I don't know if any exist, probably. Rome was incredibly diverse.
Yeah.
And Rome had a policy where you could become a citizen of Rome if you became, if you joined the military, but then you couldn't be stationed in your homeland. So, I mean, and Rome had a large empire. So there were most definitely Africans and Egyptians who probably lived in the city of Rome itself. People with darker skin than the native people of Rome. So it wouldn't be strange to see, black and brown people in a play about Rome. Just like, the whole kerfuffle around, Bridgerton and Hamilton. There is a specific narrative that's being told there. And it's unfortunate that it got muddied by people who are just like, well, this isn't historically accurate. That's not what those shows are trying to do. They're not trying to be 100% historically accurate. They're trying to tell a very specific story with very specific reasoning. And that's what you need to do. I think sometimes it's really interesting to take things, especially older plays or operas, or even musicals, and mess with them in different ways. And I don't mean like, let me take Romeo and Juliet and make it between aliens and humans. I personally, I don't want to see that. That's not the point of the story. It's not the point of the story. But I've had this idea for a long time about Romeo and Juliet doing a group of drag performers and a group of burlesque performers as the Montagues and the Capulets. And a drag performer and a burlesque performer fall in love because there is some tension between the two. Now, it's not quite as big as it used to be because there's been a lot of work, across. But at the time that I thought about that, everybody was like, oh, that would be really fun to see. But it would also have been using the music of today. It would have been Romeo and Juliet translated. It wouldn't have been the original text.
Right.
But I don't see anything wrong, even there, I don't see anything wrong that's set in Verona. When I think it's based on an older play anyways, that I think was from the Roman time. So yeah, why do they have to be all white?
Right. Why gotta be white?
And somebody, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, you go ahead.
I was gonna say, and somebody said something really interesting to me recently, just about musicals in general. Sondheim, Jason Robert Brown. Those are musicals about white people for white people.
Yeah.
Like, we can make them diverse, in the way that we cast them, but at the end of the day, we have to remember that they are by white people for white people in a lot of cases. In a lot of cases. And that's why it's so important that we work on having other people in the room, and why it's so important. And for me, just back to the Q Collective, why it was so important for me that we had so many different people on our board who probably wouldn't get on, boards elsewhere. And that comfortability, it starts at the top.
Yep.
In this particular case, at least, with arts organizations, for me, it starts at the top. If you're not doing the work up here, how can you do the work down here?
And that is so important, because the representation isn't just, when we talk about representation, we don't just talk about it being on the stage, on the screen. We mean in the writing rooms, we mean on the boards, we mean in the people wearing the suits that are making the decisions, that are choosing the shows, that are choosing the directors, that are like you said, from the top down, it has to start at the top. We don't just want to be the characters. We want to choose the characters. We want to be involved in the entire process, because you can't tell my story the way I can tell my story.
Right.
And not you specifically, but you know what I mean. The broader you.
Yes. And that, it's something that has been important to me from the beginning. And I hope it has come across.
It has. Absolutely, it has. Like, being there from ground zero of this start of Q and seeing it flourish into what it was. There's still maybe a handful of theater organizations here in St. Louis that I feel are inclusive enough, or that even try to be inclusive without tokenism or nepotism, or the typical brand of theater that happens in St. Louis a lot of the time.
Right.
That is the reason I don't really do theater here anymore.
Really?
And that's shade. That is absolutely shade. So we've talked a lot about theater and the importance of inclusivity in theater, but talk to me about how theater has impacted your mental health. How being a performer makes you feel.
It is one of the best things for me. I have struggled in life to always articulate my feelings. Part of it has to do with how I was raised, at least from my perspective. My parents probably, disagree with me, but parents do that often. I never felt that I could always articulate to them how I was feeling. And the only way for me for forever to get my feelings out has been through music and through the stage. If I can't sing, if I can't act, if I can't produce, honestly, those feelings get, swallowed and bottled. And that's not a good thing. So, I haven't been to karaoke in a couple weeks, but when I go to karaoke, you can tell pretty quickly by my music choice how I'm feeling. If I'm just having fun, if I'm singing Broadway all night long and it's all happy Broadway, I'm in a good mood. But if I start pulling out, Glitter in the Air by Pink, like I've got some stuff I have to let out, that I have to let go. If I'm pulling out, some Bon Jovi, stuff like that, there's feelings that need to get out. And it's very cathartic for me to just think those things as I'm saying the words, singing the words, and to let it go. Let it go. Don't hold it back anymore.
Oh, I knew you were gonna do it. If you didn't do it, I was gonna do it. As tired as I am of Little Miss Elsa, oh God, and her Kingdom of Isolation, you just can't not sing it when it comes on, man. It's
so good.
It is a really good song. I cannot deny that it is a fabulous song. And
at some point too, you and I have to go through like all the major Disney films and all the princesses and just be like queer coded.
Oh, yeah.
Queer coded.
Most of them. I would say the only one that's not is probably like Snow White, maybe.
I don't know. Even then, I'm questioning.
Like, right? I'm like, maybe she could. Oh man, I feel that about singing. I started singing when I was very young. I started singing when I was like 8 years old.
Right.
And then stopped for a long time because my voice started changing and I was, a teenager and scared. And I was like, oh, I'm not actually a singer. I suck. And when I started singing again, especially writing music, oh my God, it has been the most powerful bit of magic that I could ever have incorporated into my life.
Right.
More than candles, more than tarot, more than anything. Like being able to write music and sing that music and put sounds together that incorporate every single bit of feeling that I am experiencing in that moment. It's truly magical. It is absolutely, I don't know that I could ever stop.
Absolutely. Yeah, I feel that.
And I think about that sometimes where I'm like, God, I'm doing so many things. I want to do so much. Maybe I should just put one thing down. Like maybe I'll put music on the back burner because, it's doing a great job, but it's not doing. And then I'm like, no,
right.
never, never. This is a good spot for us to take a little bit of a break. Excuse me. To hear a word from the sponsor of this episode, which is BetterHelp. Today's episode of Mental Health Chat Monday is brought to you by BetterHelp. With BetterHelp, the world's largest 100% online therapy service, you can get connected with a therapist and a network of over 25,000 licensed and experienced therapists to help you with a wide range of issues. When I signed up for BetterHelp, I was able to specify exactly what I was looking for in a therapist, and I was matched with a therapist that suited my needs. To get started, all you do is answer a few questions about your therapy needs and preferences. That way, BetterHelp can match you with the perfect therapist from their network. From there, contacting your therapist is easy. Call, chat, video call, or text, whatever is more comfortable for you. Message your therapist at any time to set up live sessions when it's convenient for you. And the coolest thing about BetterHelp is that if your therapist doesn't match for any reason at all, you can switch to a brand new therapist at no additional charge. Affordability, online access at your own pace, custom pick therapists. That sounds like my kind of therapy. And what luck you have. You can get 10% off your very first month of BetterHelp using my link, betterhelp.com/MHCM. That's betterhelp.com/MHCM. Now go ahead and get yourself some therapy, baby. And thank you to BetterHelp for sponsoring this episode. Thank you so much to BetterHelp for sponsoring this video. Click the links and the buttons and do all the stuff and all that. Y'all know how that works. Keep this thing going. Keep this train going. So you spoke a little bit at the beginning about medication. How has medication impacted your life? And when did you start? If you're, obviously as much as you are comfortable sharing.
Yeah, absolutely. So I started taking, I think I've taken 3 different antidepressants at this point. And I had started them when I went into the hospital. That was my first time with them. Which I think is one of the things that really helped me like reset, like I was saying, with everything that was going on with my ex. And I took them for just a little over 5.5 years. And I feel like I still need them today. So it's something that I'm working on getting back to. But learning what it feels like to be more regulated and to not have as many high highs and low lows as I used to. That was really, really nice. And it's not to say they don't erase the high highs and the low lows.
Right.
Medication, one, there's almost 8 billion people on this planet now. God, that's a scary number. Which means that everybody's, mental health diagnosis, there are almost 8 billion different mental health diagnoses that can happen.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that our healthcare system works across the world, not just here, is it's generalized medicine. It is taking care of the majority of the problems, not jumping down to, your DNA and your chromosomes to figure out like how specifically can we target you.
Right.
Which means that medicine is never 100%. But learning what it feels like to not have, sometimes a daily high and daily low. That was one of the biggest benefits. And I resisted medicine for a long time. I was like, no, I'm doing fine. I'm going to handle this with, I'm going to go for walks and I'm going to go exercise and I'm going to go do this. Might work for some people. And if it does, like, more power to you. I'm really happy that it does. It does not work for everybody.
Yeah.
And trying to tell people that, well, you shouldn't try it because it didn't work for me. Well, I'm not you.
Yeah.
So, and one of the things that I was scared of before I went on medication was like, am I not going to be me anymore?
Mm-hmm.
And the answer is like, no, I'm still me. I have less screwing around up here. I have less manic episodes. I have less depressive episodes. On the medication, I'm still me. Doesn't change my thought process. I do know some people who have worse mental health conditions than I do, who've been on different medications, and does it affect them differently? 100%. But again, like I said, there's really almost 8 billion mental health diagnoses, which means there's almost 8 billion ways to take care of people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and no one thing is going to work for everybody. Like, I am not medicated. I'm fortunate to feel as though I don't need medication, but I'm also not. I'm not getting up to take a walk. Are you kidding me? You want me to exercise, which I need to do, because less for my mental health and more for my physical health. I need to start working out and exercising. But I can sit in my feelings and write, or I have my coping skills that work for me, where
Right.
feeling those emotions, while it does suck, it fuels and motivates me to not feel them. So it's like a cycle that it's like a cycle that I go through, and it doesn't anymore. Maybe when I was younger, definitely when I was younger, it was worse. But here I am at 30, and I feel controlled and relieved, and I feel better more of the time. And it's like you said, now I know with that diagnosis, now I know, and I've been living with it for 15 years plus.
Right.
I know when it's coming. I know what's happening. I know exactly what stations need to be manned for the battle.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah. Learning that, back to the restaurant, knowing that I have anxiety disorder, knowing what the creeping anxiety feels like, means that I can be like, okay, now I understand why randomly I would need to, step outside. Like, I very, 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 very rarely I will grab a cigarette and have a smoke. But knowing that is something that I can do. And for me, it's one of those things where it's like, if I'm doing that, that is, I have entered the almost panic stage.
Uh-huh.
And doing just the simple act of just the breathing in and out, it's calming, and it takes me down. It's not something that I do often. Like, I think in the past year, I've had one cigarette, and that was very recently, and that was the run up to Mother's Day, because the restaurant on Mother's Day.
Everybody smoke. Listen. Oh, I will say, so I work at a mom and pop. I still work at the same restaurant I've always worked at for the past 6 years.
Love that place.
Love that place. Love those people. Great people to work for. Fantastic people to work for. But this year was the best Mother's Day I've ever worked. And not like because of money or like anything like that, but the people just seemed a lot more happy to be there and a lot more prepared for the fact that it's Mother's Day. It's gonna be busy and you're gonna have to wait a little bit.
Yeah, I'll say. So the Saturday before Mother's Day was worse for us. Mother's Day was amazing, amazing. Like our management team spent 3 months coming up with a battle plan for Mother's Day, and we executed it flawlessly. We were getting compliments left and right about how quickly we were able to get people set, how quickly we were able to get food out to them. Like I was like, this is like, I was so worried about it because I've never worked a Mother's Day in my life in the restaurant industry.
Really?
Yeah, I got
How
lucky.
have you avoided that?
I am lucky, baby.
I have worked, Sean, I've been in the restaurant industry for 12 years. I've worked every single Mother's Day for 12 years.
Yeah, I got out of it.
I'm pissed.
So I was worried, but that Saturday we got our butts handed to us.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had a coworker who, she's young, and I try like with my boyfriend, I try to take that with some patience and some grace, but she just got me that day. She got me. I just have to share this story because it made me so mad. Like we are going crazy. We have we close at 11 o'clock. It's 10 o'clock. We have 6 tables walk in. The 2 people who are left on the floor, the bartender and myself, we both get triple sat.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a 5-top and a 2-top that walks in. And we're both just like, we can't continue doing this. It's been a crazy day.
Yeah.
So I go up to the bartender, I say, you take the 2-top, because she's had a lot more large tables than I have at this point, that I'll take the 5-top. All good. 5-top gets sat. Person who's trying to get checked out, our manager goes, well, did you get your signatures? Because, servers have to get signed off by the closing server, make sure all their stuff is done. She comes up to me. She's like, hey, Sean, can you go ahead and check my tables? And I said, give me just a moment. I walk to the back. I grab the plates that I need to greet my table with. I come back out the doors, and she's right there. There's been maybe 30 seconds, 45 seconds. And she goes, Sean, can you check my tables? And I go, give me a moment. I'm like, I have been stressed all day, and you're going to come fucking whine at me 30 seconds later, 45 seconds later. Like,
and I still am here working. Like, right. I don't give a damn about the fact that you're trying to go home.
No, and Carrabba's has we're supposed to greet tables within 30 seconds.
Mm. Oh, damn.
I know. So it's like, my priority, you are very low on it right now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to check you out, but they come first.
Also, this is my money, babe. Like, you got your money, you finna go.
Right.
I got 4 now tables to take care of. And you're trying to leave? Babe, you can wait a second.
Yeah. I was just like, and she's young. She's 23. And I'm trying to take that with some grace. And like, she started in the industry during COVID. So like,
she started at a very different time than us.
Right.
The veterans.
Right. I was telling one of my 17-year-old coworkers the other day, like the Taco Bell that I started at, the franchise I started at, you had an hour to finish up after the restaurant closed. If you didn't finish up within an hour, they'd stopped paying you. Now, that's wage theft. But I didn't fuck around with that. I was like, I don't want you to stop paying me.
Right.
It was because we had people the restaurant would close at 2 o'clock in the morning. They'd be there till 6 o'clock in the morning, still cleaning.
It don't take that long to clean.
No. It doesn't.
You know what you're like. I've never worked in fast food, but like I've worked only ever in restaurants. Well, I did work in what do you call it? Retail. And even that, like when you have to go through and like reset essentially the whole store at the end of the night, doesn't take more than 45 minutes.
No. And yeah, but I was just like, yeah, I mean, I started working in the industry in 2005. So it's almost 20 years for me at this point.
Oof. Oh, I'm hoping this is my last year.
Same.
I can't do it anymore. I just to jump off the topic of mental health, kind of off and on the topic of mental health for a second. Working in a restaurant is very stressful. And I don't think people realize, especially as an empath, how much of other people's energy you just have to deal with. There's
Yes.
no option not to. I don't get to choose whether or not I'm going to just like be good at my job. If I want to make money, I have to be good at my job. And people don't have to be nice to me. That's the thing that's the most fucked up about it. I have to be nice to you, but you don't have to be nice to me. And I, again, being a Capricorn, have decided that I'm just not going to be nice to people who are not nice to me. And I don't care.
Yeah. There are ways that I, kind of combat the not nice. Like I had a lady come in the other day who was pissed. They got there at 3:30. We stopped serving lunch on the weekdays at 3:00. And she was pissed because it didn't say it anywhere. And you know what? And she was very sharp with me. And I said, well, unfortunately, our computer cuts it off. There's nothing that I can do. Now, had she been like, oh, I was really hoping we could get lunch. Sucks that we missed it. And if that was all she said, I would have gone to my manager and been like, hey, is there anything we can do for this table? They were really hoping to get lunch. Obviously, they're 30 minutes late. I will fight for you
if you're nice.
If you're going to be nice to me. But the minute that you're rude to me, the minute that you're mean to me, like, I will not continue going further.
Yeah,
as far as that goes.
You don't get the superstar supreme service if you're going to be rude. Sorry. No. We found out the other day that we have like a 40% retention rate as far as regulars at my job, which is crazy to me. But also I think about it. I think about the people that I see multiple times a week. And it's because the people that come into the restaurant are nice. And our staff is great. Like we have so many incredible people working there right now. And I mean, that's why people come back, because they realize that if I go in here and I'm nice with these people and I shoot the shit and the food is good, the drinks are good, I'm going to get good service and probably get some perks.
Yeah, no, that's the way some of my coworkers, I just don't understand. Like I was training with one of them and she was complaining about how she usually only makes 15% tips. And I was like, I'm following her. I'm like, I've been in the industry longer than she has. I'm following her. I'm like, well, I can see why you're only making 15% tips. Like, yeah, I worked this past Sunday. I worked lunch, and then dinner, and I made more money for lunch off of fewer tables than I did for dinner, because one, we were a little bit quiet on lunch, so I could take my time with my tables and chat with them and get to know them. Dinner, they just kept pounding me with tables. There was one point where I had a 10 top and 4 tops. I was just like, God damn it, stop. I had not eaten either. I was like shaky and headachy. And I was like, I looked at my manager, like, I need to eat. I was like, can you give me, and as I'm like, can you give me like 2 minutes so I can shove something down? They're sitting the 10 top. And I'm like, why am I good at my job?
Yeah. My boss actually, who was a good friend of mine, we go way back. I shared a post on Facebook the other day that was like, which avatar character do you identify? Like, do you identify me as? And it's a roster of all the greats. So it's like Azula and Iroh and Aang and Katara and everybody. And he commented on the post and said, when you've eaten, what did he say? When you've eaten Toph, when you haven't eaten Azula. And I was like, you gotta leave me
Look, I still maintain that you're transitioning into your IRO era.
I too feel like I am transitioning to my own viral era. Absolutely, 100%. Leaves from the vine, baby. But he was not wrong. He was not wrong because, baby, the blue flower comes out when I haven't eaten. Ooh, unhinged. I am unhinged when I'm hangry.
Oh man. Yeah. My ex tried to mess with my hunger at some points.
I listen. Even Ronnie knows. Like if I'm quiet and I'm frowny faced and I get like a furrow in my brow, he's like, "Are you hungry?" I'm like, "Yes, slam sandwich."
Yeah.
So to kind of round back into the episode, I'm just really enjoying talking to you because we haven't actually seen each other's faces and talked for so long.
I know it's been I moved out here in September.
Yeah, it's been almost a year.
Oh my God, I know. And I was supposed to be back there. I was going to be back there in April. I was supposed to be back there in June. I am going to be out there in August for sure.
Ooh.
Like that's a 100%.
Right, well, we'll have to make some plans so we can hang out. I'm going to see Beyonce in August. So
are you?
It's going to depend on Beyonce.
That's fine. I can bow down to the queen.
Hey, listen, I got to see Queen Bey. We got to see her. We got to see her. So hold on. I'm looking at my questions, trying to remember where exactly. Yeah, so here, like I said in the intro, we have a motto here on Mental Health Chat Monday. It's turning mental illness into mental wellness. What does mental wellness look like to you?
For me, one of the biggest things is boundary setting. So I used to work, when I've been, working in the restaurant industry, it can be really easy for them to overwork you, overstep your boundaries. And I allowed that to happen when I was younger. When I moved out here and I got this job at Carrabba's, I told them straight up, I said, I will not work on Mondays, period. I said, if there are some exceptions, and those exceptions are, hey, somebody was just in a car accident. Hey, somebody's mother just died. Hey, somebody has to go, they're out of town for a funeral. We need coverage. Like, it needs to be extreme. And that is the only way that I will come into work on a Monday. Because it's my guaranteed day off. I can make plans, for myself. I can relax. I can go do my grocery shopping. I can get my laundry done. I can get my house cleaned. It is just, that is the day. And I told them I would prefer to have both Sundays and Mondays off. Because I like to work 5. I've told them Tuesday through Saturday, you call me, you say, hey, can you come in? Yes. Tuesday through Saturday. You don't my manager was like, hey, do you mind if I schedule you on Wednesday? I'm like, Matt, Tuesday through Saturday, you don't have to ask. Just schedule me. That is the permission that I give you.
Yep.
Mondays, unless something catastrophic is going on, don't call, don't write, don't text. I don't want to hear from you.
Don't even look at my phone number. Don't even say my name out loud to anybody in the restaurant.
Do not invoke me.
Do not perceive me. I am not to be perceived.
And that's just, for me, that's one of the things that I do. That's a protection for me. Because I know that if I overstep that boundary, and come in for something random, or just say, yeah, I can work whatever day of the week, I'm going to put myself into a dangerous mental health space. And that's one really big one. And having boundaries, I mean, even, Nico has boundaries with me, and I have boundaries with him. Things that, he has a tendency sometimes of making certain dark humor jokes that I dislike, and I don't want to go into what they are. That's his business. But I've told him, I was like, that really hurts me right now because we're not together. physically in the same space. And that's something I would prefer not to hear from you. You know, when we are together in the same space, it's going to be a little bit easier because I'm there.
Yeah.
I don't have to worry about what's going on so many miles away from me. So yeah, boundaries are a huge one. The other thing is, like, I no longer overtask myself. My days, if I'm, you know, I usually only work in the evenings. I wake up and I make breakfast. I drink coffee. I watch, you know, one news program. You know, it's a long 4-hour program, but that's the one that I watch because they just cover a variety of topics. And that's not always the negative things that are going on in the world. Today they were talking about a book that Stacey Abrams just released called Rogue Justice. You know, it's not always about the ish. And I have a cup of coffee and I take it easy. And then as soon as that's done, I'm reading for a little while. And if I'm not working, I'm going to go out for a walk, or I'm going to get on my bicycle and I'm going to go out and just, you know, I'm going to enjoy my day and I'm take it easy, you know, be productive in the ways that I want to be productive, you know, and then on the days that I am working, you know, read for a little bit and then get ready for work and go into work, and just know that I'm walking in a good mindset, in a good mind space. And, you know, be able to take, you know, be present in that moment there versus bringing, you know, whatever else is going on outside, you know, in with me. But it's been a long journey to learn to do that. I think it's a skill that you have to develop. I don't think it's something that people inherently know.
No, especially in America, we are trained to work and work ourselves to death. And I've had this conversation with some of my younger coworkers where I'm like, listen, I caught it pretty quick, but a lot of people don't catch on until they're much older that you are not your output. You are not your output. If you don't feel like doing anything, if you want to take some time and relax, take some time and do absolutely nothing, it can get done another day.
Yeah.
It can get done another day.
Right. And that's, you know, that's a big thing. You know, this past week I worked almost 50 hours, which I don't like doing, especially in the restaurant industry. It is taxing.
Yeah.
Like I had to go to the store yesterday. So my cousin and I went together and I could feel my legs shaking, like just standing there, because I averaged 7 miles a day last week, walking around that restaurant. And that's a lot. I mean, you know, for us in our society today, walking 7 miles in a day is a lot.
A lot.
So yesterday I was like, I usually take a walk on my days off or get out and do something. I was like, I can't. I physically need a break today.
Yeah.
Physically, not even mentally, just physically, my body needs a break today.
I need a hard stop.
Yeah, and that's another thing. It's okay to just do nothing. And that's not lazy. I'm starting to hate the word lazy. Like, even when I use it for myself, like, sometimes doing nothing is doing something because it's recharging you. You know, you don't have to be constantly on the move 24/7. You know, like you said, your output is not your value.
Yep. I wish that was the thing we learned in school, rather than algebra, which I still don't understand. Or, you know, I'm never in my life, never in my entire life since graduating high school and beyond, I still have yet to use any algebraic formula.
Yeah, I kind of wish we did school. I think it's Finland. It might be Norway, where they kind of like choose a topic for the year, and then all of their classes are around that topic. Like, you know, for example, we'll just throw something out there. World War II, and all their math classes, all their history classes, all their literature classes, everything that they do, all their science classes are based on World War II. Which for me, like that's why I read books, because it introduces topics to me that I probably have no desire to learn otherwise. But it does it in a way that is, I'm going to say referential. I don't know if that's exactly what I mean, but like one of my favorite English classes I ever took in college, instead of just being a generic, okay, we're going to do this book by, this person, and this book by this person, and this book by this person, it was based on one book. And the entire, semester was just that book and just the topics that splintered off from it. And like, that was really cool, actually.
Yeah, that's incredible. Yeah.
So, but yeah. Yeah.
Beautiful, amazing, fantastic, wonderful. Boundaries are, that's another thing I wish they taught in school. Boundaries and your output is not your worth. Those are the two things we need to implement those into schools immediately, please. Expeditiously.
Yes.
I have a couple more questions for you before we end this call. So leave us with a piece of advice for those around us who are, in our corner. How can, as mentally ill people, what's the best way to support?
So a piece of advice that I would give the people in my corner. That's tough. I think I'll have to go back to what I was saying, about there's almost 8 billion people in the world, so there's almost 8 billion different ways of doing things. What works for you will not necessarily work for me. And to try and force me to do things the way that you do them is not helpful. Now, hearing how you do them and taking some advice, like, I want to be very clear, like, there's a difference between giving advice and saying, well, I tried this, maybe that might work for you, versus, well, you should do it this way. There's a difference in intent and a difference in way that you present those two things. And just, I think keeping in mind that what worked for you will not necessarily work for somebody else.
Oh my God, I'm writing that down. Okay. Because that was a message. Like that alone is something that as a society we just don't acknowledge. Everything is supposed to be one size fits all, but it's not, especially with healthcare and especially with mental health care.
Yeah. There's too much variety, and there's too many things that inform your health and your mental health that, this is one area where, like, I think having somebody who has had different experiences from you as a therapist is actually super helpful. Because they view the world differently because their experiences have been different. It's one of the reasons that Carol and I have such a good friendship. Or I think the reason that you and I have such a good friendship as well is, we have had similar experiences, but we've also had very different experiences. And so, like, but, seeing how other people live through their eyes and whatnot, it helps me to make better choices. And, and again, something that worked for you might work for me. And it's like, it's great to take that information. But it doesn't mean it will work for me.
Right. And, that was what you just said hit me at, like, we don't really necessarily, a lot of times we look for a therapist who is similar to us. And I know a lot of the reason, I know my reasoning for looking for a therapist that is similar to me is because I feel like a, a, th- a therapist of a different race wouldn't necessarily understand my experience. For me, I would have to have a Black therapist, a brown therapist in general, man, woman, straight, that doesn't matter. But having a therapist of color is important because a white therapist isn't going to understand my journey the way.
Right.
But also, it is important to have that outside opinion of life
Right.
in general.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, for me, I have to recognize that I have a certain amount of privilege that informs the way that I look at things. And so I have, I have been afforded that just based on the circumstances of my birth, and if I would change it if I could, but it is what it is, and these are the hands that we're dealt with, that we have been dealt, and the best that I can do are the things that I do to use what privilege I have in the ways that I can.
Yeah. And you do.
Thank you. I
There's
appreciate
nothing else
that.
to say to that other than you do. Like, we've been friends long enough, and we've, I don't keep people in my life that I don't see. That almost sounded really bad. I almost, I don't keep people in my life that I don't see value in, but that's not what I meant to say. I meant to say I don't keep people in my life that don't serve my life. And by that, I mean people who aren't willing and able to acknowledge their own circumstances and able to meet me where I'm at, and I can meet them where they're at.
Right.
And we come together and grow just by knowing each other.
Yes.
Not through conflict or whatever, blah, blah, blah. Just the simple fact that we can call each other friends is us growing together as friends.
Right.
And if I don't see growth, I can't make a connection. Like, I can't make a true, genuine connection with somebody that I don't feel like can, you get it.
I do. I don't have a lot of close friendships, but the ones that I do have are incredibly meaningful and important to me, such as yourself.
Ditto, my friend.
There's going to be two there, but I'm holding my phone with my other one, so.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, I got the other side.
There we go.
Backwards on my screen. I've been
make it work.
the Korean hearts. I love these. They're my
love this too.
now.
Nico does this all the time.
It's my favorite thing. It's such a cute little thing to do. I love it. So good. Sean, do you have anything you need to plug? Any upcoming anything, or?
Honestly, I'm just, getting myself back together. Actually, you know what? Now that you say it, I am going to be participating in the 52-mile challenge from the Trevor Project this year.
Ooh.
So in June, I'll be getting on my bike and riding at least 52 miles and trying to raise at least $250. I will be sharing that on my Facebook and Instagram, try to get it over here on TikTok as well, for people to donate to the Trevor Project. Great organization that does a lot of advocacy work for the LGBTQ community. So that's the big thing that I have going on.
Absolutely. Go ahead. Keep going.
Oh, no, you're good. But yeah, beyond that, nothing at the moment, although I am going to be towards the end of this year working on getting back into theater and hopefully getting the Q Collective up and running again.
I know that the stage misses you, and I know that you miss the stage too. So get back to it. Get back to it. I'm partially saying that to myself because I'm also I'm missing being on stage and not in a musical, in a musical.
Yeah.
I want to act again, I think. I don't know. We can talk about that in a second when this call is over, because I'm still a little fucked by the community. But I will put a link to the Trevor Project and some information about the 52 mile challenge.
Yeah, because it's this year is 52 years since Stonewall.
Holy shit.
Yep.
Damn. I got to do something special for that this year. Okay. We're going to have to think about that. But
yes,
I want to thank you, Sean, for being here. And I want to thank all of you out there for watching and tuning in to this week's episode of Mental Health Chat Monday. I will be back on Monday with a brand new guest. As usual, you know how this goes. If you want to find me, I am at DDare Bionic on all social media. It's called branding. Look it up. And I will see you all on the next episode. Bye.